Greetings. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks, Sr., your host, and this is Community Focus. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Dr. Roblie Baily. He is a person that Lake County should know. Dr. Baily is an exemplary person. He was one of the first graduates of Tots and Toddlers Daycare Center, North Chicago, Illinois. Good morning, Dr. Baily.
Good morning, Dr. Brooks. How are you?
We're very happy that you're taking time from your busy schedule to be with us on Community Focus. You're one of our first graduates from Tots and Toddlers Daycare Center in North Chicago, and it was established because of the need. There was no other centers in the area, and Dr. Daisy Brooks had a vision, that she wanted to give the children an early start. We know that in the statistics shows, there's data shows that if a child is having difficulty by the third grade, that child is going to have a difficulty all the way through its educational system. It's something about the third grade. I don't know. Maybe you could explain it to me. I don't know. But each year, the child is going to get further and further behind. And by the time they reach high school, they have a tendency to drop out. And then you know what happens when they drop out. Then there's a tendency to get involved in things that are going to cause them to be incarcerated. And then that's they get wrapped up in the system. And then there's, that's the end of their life there, educationally.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
So Tots and Toddlers Daycare Center established in 1974, I think, and my wife had a vision, and she was a general contractor, for the building, and we have thousands of youngsters that have graduated and are doing well. I'm very happy that you have taken time from your busy schedule to tell us. You are located in Charlotte, North Carolina, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Tell us about
for several years now.
What has happened to Dr. Baily since he left Tots and Toddlers Daycare Center?
Well, gosh, going back a little ways, after Tots and Toddlers, of course, I went through grade school, proceeded on through high school, and around that time is when I really started to, I guess, come up with my own personal focus of what I wanted to do in the future. A big influence of that was provided by my mother, definitely stemming back to Tots and Toddlers because I had direction. I was afforded opportunity to explore different things culturally, and education was always behind that. It was always a push. It was a priority in the household. So I started to favor or lean more towards the medical field or dental field in this case. And so I set my sights and my goals on that and went to Southern Illinois for university, Edwardsville, for undergraduate program. And not soon after I graduated from there, I actually worked as a chemist for Sigma Aldrich Chemical Company for a couple years, and never really losing sight of going on or going back to school. I can remember it like it was yesterday. I'd go to work early, and before we start, I was at my desk or in the break room studying. I was studying during the lunchtime for my entrance exams and just trying to make myself a better applicant, and was fortunate enough to be admitted and went to dental school. And that was a 4-year track, and I was of a class of about 50. I was one of 4 minorities, and that includes Black, African, Indian, and Asian. So not a diverse pool, if you will, but didn't stop me. I still had my obstacles that I dealt with, as we all did, and actually matriculated through the program and went on to my first specialty program in periodontics, and that's basically the treatment of gum disease. That does include implants, which is a big popular item right now in the dental field, replacing teeth with implants.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe I was actually the first Black or African American to be accepted and graduate from that program.
Wow.
And literally, I finished my residency on a Thursday. My car was packed. I drove out to D.C., and that following Monday morning, I was at Howard University entering my second residency into orthodontics.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a 2-year track. And I was gracious enough to be offered, or it was, I say I had the privilege and honor of being invited to actually stay and teach for a couple of years after I finished the residency. So I actually taught at Howard for a couple of years, and market changed, the climate changed a little bit on the Eastern Coast, and actually had a good opportunity to relocate to Charlotte, and that's where I'm at today.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, we're talking with Dr. Roblie Baily, a former resident of Lake County, is one of the first graduates, if not the first graduate, of Tots and Tyler's Daycare Center in 1975. And he is a person that you should know. He's self-motivated person. And Dr. Baily, that self-motivation, I guess, it stems from family too, right? You had a mother that was active in your life doing.
Very much so. Very much so. She, I grew up in a single-parent home.
Mm-hmm.
She lost her husband. I lost my dad due to an unfortunate incident.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was the mother and the father. She was the household leader.
Mm-hmm.
But yet she groomed me to be a young man. Mm-hmm. and take responsibility. So because of that, she definitely enforced, and not only enforced, but actually showed me the importance of an education. And it was not just by words, but in fact, she herself went back to school to become a nurse, and then went back to school again to actually improve herself. Mm-hmm. So I actually remember when, say, late grade school, she was actually going to school herself. So mm-hmm. there would be times where we'd both be studying at night, and I think that had a big influence on it, because she led not just by words, but she led by example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
And I was going to say that I think of myself as being self-motivated, and we all have our goals that we set before us, and it's one thing better than doing something on your own is actually doing something with someone else going through the same regimen, going mm-hmm. through facing the same obstacles. There's a certain level of reassurance, confidence, and support there. And then I got that from seeing my mother go back to school and go back to school again. And then I like to say it rubbed off on me,
Fantastic. Well, what motivated you to go into the dental field?
The truth of it is, initially I wanted to go to med school.
Okay.
And that's what I was working towards. And this is a true story. I applied to med school, and I truly had my heart and mind set on becoming a surgeon. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I applied, and I was not accepted, but I was put on a wait list, and didn't pan out in my favor, if you will. Mm-hmm. So latter part of college, I had a close friend of mine who was actually applying to dental school, made a suggestion that I go to dental school. She said that, you're intelligent, you're a smart student, mm-hmm. you're good with your hands, you have an artistic eye, you would be great in dentistry. Mm-hmm. And worst case, if you don't like the dental field, you can always transfer, because basically the first couple of years, you're basically taking the same core curriculum courses. So I gave it some thought. I applied and was accepted. And I can remember halfway through that first semester of my first year, I realized that this is where I was supposed to be. So I think it was by his design that's where I was destined to be, and that was my path. So that's literally how I ended up going down the dental field, or going into the dental field.
Were there scholarships available when you left high school?
And as I was graduating from high school,
Yes,
to go into college.
I mentioned that from high school. I mentioned that because I was a neighbor of yours. You went to Edwardsville, Southern Illinois University. I'm from East St. Louis, and I received a scholastic scholarship to Illinois State.
Okay.
But the tuition was $40 a semester at that time.
Right.
I know that's unheard of now. They won't buy a book now. But I just wonder, when you came out of high school, were there scholarships available?
There were scholarships available. There was a plentiful amount, but the unfortunate thing is we don't look for them.
Okay.
You have to do a little bit of digging, and since you bring that up, when I remember when I was planning to make that transition from high school to college, my mother was with me. We talked to counselors, to anybody that have any piece of information. But and then they were telling us there's plenty of scholarships out there, to the point to where you can get a scholarship just for being left-handed. You can get a scholarship from if your parents worked at a certain company. So what I did, I actually went to the library, and I don't know if they still have this same type of access today, but there are literally books upon books that have lists of scholarships, lists of the requirements, listed the deadlines to apply, listed any type of, if you had to write an essay or a letter of recommendation. I would scour those books, make up a list of scholarships that I thought I qualified for, and I would work on submitting whatever information that they were requesting on time, just to take advantage of that money. There still is ample supply of scholarships available today, but as most things, it's online or via some type of app. So you still have to put in your blood, sweat, and tears to find it, but it is out there.
I was wondering, in preparing for a career, if you're counseling high school students, there's I don't know, the importance of preference tests and also achievement tests. I know in high school I had the CUDER, Kuder, preference test. I'm not sure whether that's available or not. If not, there's other preference tests available, and also achievement tests. These are very important, I guess, in choosing a career, right?
Well, I can't speak to choosing a career, but it has a big influence on the career path.
Okay.
And by that I mean, and it's based upon my own personal experience and from what I've observed from others, if I am interested in going into the field of law, obviously I have to graduate from high school, go to college, then go on to law school.
Okay.
So as you mentioned, there's an entrance exam, and I think at the time for me it was ACT, SAT, and that has a big impact on the type of school you can get in, or some say a better school versus a less appealing school. So those scores are important, and I say it may affect your career path and what opportunities you may have down the road. And I think it's sometimes I think we or the public or powers that be in academia, they may place a lot of preference on the higher the score, better the student, better the candidate, and that's not always true, because sometimes we as blacks or African Americans, we may not test as well as our counterparts, and that could be because we just don't have the same resources and tools or same exposure. But that does not mean that you cannot achieve. You're just going to have to work at this one particular area a little bit more than, say, your classmate next to you. And we all have issues that we have to deal with. But, it's important, but it is not a block or a hurdle that you cannot leap over.
I know in adjusting from high school to college,
Hmm.
there's independency has to be. You have to be trained that way. You cannot be dependent.
Hmm.
But there has to be some major adjustment that you have to make. You wanna just about the adjustment from high school to college.
Sure. And we making that adjustment, there's you have more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have somebody there that is making sure that you're home on time, that you're doing your work. It's whether you accept it or not, you have responsibility to see after yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to become responsible and manage your time.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Okay.
nothing wrong with enjoying yourself, going to parties, but you first and foremost you're there to take care of business,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that business is to graduate with a degree,
Mm-hmm.
preferably in 4 years, because college nowadays is not cheap.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you have to manage your time. You have to sometimes make a choice. Do I go out, hang with my friends, or do I stay home and study because I know I have that paper to turn in Monday,
Mm-hmm.
or I know I have that exam on Tuesday? And those types of choices are simply life choices that you're going to make throughout life. You're going to have to make choices of between things that you have to do versus things that you want to do. But you have to keep in mind, what is the ultimate goal? What is the purpose? And I think we share something in common in that when I was in college, uh, my mother, coming from a single parent home, she struggled to give me money so I can have money for those incidentals that tuition or scholarship could not pay for, could not cover.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognized that, and I knew this was my only shot. I didn't have nothing to go back to. I didn't have a strong family business with a recognized family name
Mm-hmm.
that was doing well. It was either this or nothing, and I chose this. There was nothing else for me to go back to. That was my one shot. So I didn't waste time. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't waste money
Mm-hmm.
because I knew I had to graduate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know I shared some things with you about my father left the home when I was about 2 years old,
Yeah.
and my mother really encouraged me. She only had about a 10th grade education, but
Mhm.
she
Mhm.
knew how important education was, you know.
Right.
So she encouraged me to go into college, and I in school I used to see others partying a lot, but I just couldn't see the hard-earned money that she made and trying to get me through school, just wasted that money. I I
Exactly.
I I, I I just couldn't do it. So I had to be
Mhm.
self motivated to get through. Also, it's so
Right.
important.
Exactly.
Um,
Mhm.
and I guess seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, you have to be able to, to see it there. But tell us about
Right.
computers. Now, when you were coming along, I guess the computers were not an asset, but now I guess computers has to be an influence in any field that you go into, right?
Absolutely. So much so that presently in my field and what I do,
Mm-hmm.
just to make a comparison between say college and now,
Mm-hmm.
the specialty of in the specialty of periodontics, which is in particular in placing implants,
Mm-hmm.
today I have the technology where I can literally take a 3D X-ray,
Mm-hmm.
plan your surgery without you even being present. I can place the implant's precise point. I know what size. I can choose the angulation. And that would tell me if I need any additional work that needs to be done at the time of the placement. Through with the aid of a computer and technology, I can order what's called a guide
Mm-hmm.
that simply is like a snap-on guide.
Mm-hmm.
And this allows me to place the implant literally or essentially without making any type of incisions or very minimal cutting, which means postoperatively it's more comfortable for the patient,
Mm-hmm.
a more pleasant experience. Backtracking to when I was in college, my experience with exposure or involvement with computers was to the extent of if I was given an assignment in class to, let's say, to write a paper, I do it on a computer. It was just more so word processing. It was nothing with graphics. It was nothing with studying or helping to study with anatomy, physiology. So I think in a short amount of time, the involvement of technology and computers has changed tremendously, and it's going to continue to change at an exponential rate. And for minorities, what concerns me is access or lack of access to that.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely it is a priority of trying to seek out those avenues of getting a computer in the home, if you will, and the internet, and becoming more computer savvy. So much so that a lot of jobs, if we're not familiar with how to operate a computer, we're automatically closed out from being considered eligible for jobs. So technology and computers, very, very instrumental.
Okay. I am 83 years old now, and I'm still concerned about our youth. We have a heavy dropout among minorities, but especially African Americans, and it just hurts me to see them just dropping out, getting expelled, suspended, and so forth. And there's no hope unless you have that GED or a high school diploma. It's so important that the local community college, the College of Lake County, have remedial work for the student before they can even enter into the community college.
Wow!
And I think this is pretty a pretty sad occasion. And I was wondering why we have so many African Americans incarcerated, in prisons all over the country,
Right.
We have privatization of prisons, and it just, I don't know. Maybe you have an answer.
I don't have an answer, but I have an opinion.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of factors at play.
Mm-hmm.
We do have prisons that are overcrowded.
Okay.
I've read of certain authors, journalists who basically have said that some aspect of the prison system it's a business venture.
Okay.
In order for them to produce certain things, and like any other business, you need people to operate or make that business run.
Okay.
So it's unfortunate, and some journalists may have alluded to that if one of our own is incarcerated or is up for a crime that they may not have committed, or if they did commit, they may tend to be given a longer sentence or more harsher sentence to outfit these prison systems. And that's debatable. But I've certainly, that's been a reoccurring theme that I've seen and read of over the years. We have a lot of households that are of a single parent household, and it's tough, whether it be just a male figure or a female figure. In my own experience, I saw more single parent female homes than male homes. Regardless of the case, that parent is working probably two jobs just to put food on the table and keep the lights on, and that also means that contact time between the parent and the child is limited, so they don't have a lot of direction. And those homes where there is no father figure there, they may not have somebody who can show them the right things to do and what are not the right things to do. To more or less talk to them, to give them a male perspective of the world and how we are in it and where we are lacking, where we need to focus, education, direction. And again, it goes back to an example, a living example of somebody to show us the way. Media, I think, plays a part into it, in that certain facets of the media. They glamorize the material things,
right?
And it looks good on the screen, but in reality, that's not how it really is. Fast life, easy money, easy cars.
Okay.
It's appealing to some, but that's really not the true lifestyle, or that's not, in my own opinion, not realistic. There's a lot still to be said about, again, focusing on education. Don't look at that person on the screen, as I've said up to other people or younger students. Don't look at the person on the screen, but look at the people behind the scenes who are making that possible, who are creating those movies, who are writing the books, who are in the labs. Those are the people that are, in my opinion, in control and actually paving the way and creating pathways. And that's why I tend to focus, not just on the surface.
Dr. Baily, it's no accident that we're having this program today. We have hundreds of thousands of youngsters that left tots and toddlers, and we just don't know where they are because we had a fire that destroyed all our records and so forth, and we hopefully look forward to a reunion. But it's very difficult now because of that. But I found out that where you were because of your aunt. I believe you have an aunt here that gave you my number and gave me your number and had us contact each other. Is that your mother's sister?
Yes. My mother's sister. My mother is Mary Baily.
Okay.
And her sister Kathy Cragen, who is still in the North Chicago, Waukegan area. I believe you guys may have ran into each other.
Yes.
And generally you still remember the familiar faces, and definitely, I think that speaks a lot about you and the other Dr. Brooks.
Dr. Daisy Brooks.
Daisy Brooks, yes. That you've left an impression on so many people because by forming Tots and Toddlers, it has definitely provided some form of direction and guidance and learning well before that third grade period and outside of the home, where sometimes some people may not even get that in the home. And for that to leave a lasting effect on people, to basically transcend from my immediate household to my aunt's house to remember you, I think that says a lot about you guys and what you've done and what you've accomplished.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
appreciate it very much, and that's it's very it's our loss that we lost you from this North Chicago area, and Charlotte's gain in North Carolina, but you're still sharing with Lake County. Lake County is approximately 750,000 people. But I don't know how many up at 5 o'clock this Sunday morning listen to the program. But I understand we have a pretty good audience. This is public service, so I have to take the time that's available to me. To do this. But Charlotte, there's another program we can do about Charlotte compared to North Chicago area. The weather, for example, that'll keep you there and away from the snow here. We like to talk about the resources there and professional African Americans that are in Charlotte. I assume there are quite a few, and entrepreneurs also. So there's a great deal more that we can talk about. But I'm happy that you able to share the dentistry with your specialty in periodontics and orthodontics. For that area. So I want to thank you very much for taking time from your busy schedule to be with us to share, and we'll have to share again sometime. I have also a TV show, and maybe we can do that. They have a way that you, what do you call it? I can see you on when I do it by telephone and so forth, and I forgot the name of that process, but my son knows it well. He's from the new era,
Right.
But this has been very beneficial to Lake County, and I want to thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for listening to another awareness session on Community Forum, Community Focus, or Community Forum is a TV show, okay? Community Focus. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks Sr., your host.